just started mowing, so hopefully that doesn't ruin the video. Oh, anyways, hey guys, what's up? My name is Brie. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be episode 2 of a series on my channel called Coffee with Brie, where I just sit down, have a chat with you guys, give you advice or tips on things that I've learned. If you haven't watched my first video, I will link it down below and I will suggest it up here, and you can learn all about how I changed my life with my mindset and with faith and law of attraction and all that stuff. So if that interests you, go ahead and watch that before or after you watch this video. But this video is going to be about productivity. I feel like productivity is such a buzzword in our culture today. There's all the hustle culture and the grind, and being productive is something that's like really just, I don't know, it seems like this like idolized concept. I don't know how to express that, but it's like this concept that I feel like everybody is reaching for, productivity. And it was definitely something that I had to reach for because I was a chronic procrastinator. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about how to finally stop procrastinating, like actually stop procrastinating and become a more productive person. So if that interests you, keep watching and let's get into the video. All right, so obviously I'm not an expert on anything, just quick disclaimer. I'm just giving the tips and tricks that I've learned and things that I've applied in my life that have been helpful and that I think may help somebody watching this video. So that's my whole purpose for making this. Let me know if it does help you because that would make me very, very happy. So my backstory, I was a chronic procrastinator all through middle school and high school. I would leave every single thing to the last minute or after the last minute. Like I think senior year, I turned in quite a few essays a month late, like a month after they were due, 2 months after they would due. I would lie to my teachers and tell them, oh, my homework is here and my homework is not done because of this, and made every single excuse under the sun. And I'm not proud of that. It was really bad. It was like a deep rooted procrastination habit, and it came from my anxiety. I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate. If you have anxiety, procrastination is a big thing that people with anxiety struggle with. For me, it was a terrible habit. It was really hard for me to get motivated. I wouldn't study for tests, and I was a decent student, but it was like a constant struggle for me to be successful because I wasn't motivated. So I would be successful but still be procrastinating, and it was just very, very toxic and very exhausting. I was constantly looking for external rewards, and I'll talk about that later, and I could not figure out a healthy balance, so I was always stressed. And if this sounds like you, keep watching because I got myself out of this habit and this pattern, and I am a much more productive person now. I'm not perfect, but I think we all could be a little bit more productive. So I have figured out how to stop procrastinating, how to just live with a lot less stress. I'm much more productive and much less stressed, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does. Here's what you have to know about procrastination. Procrastination is an emotional decision. So it comes from an emotion that you feel in your heart or that you have just within you. So for me, it was always, I was too much of a perfectionist and I wanted everything to be perfect. And because I wanted everything to be perfect, I was too afraid to start it. I was afraid of failure. Some people are afraid of rejection. Some people are, I don't know, like me, with too perfectionist. Some people are too anxious. Some people just dread brain fog and mental stimulation of getting things done, doing homework, etc. And all of these things are understandable, but they are more emotional than they are logical. This can be very discouraging for you to complete a task, and so thus we procrastinate. We leave things to the last minute. So the first tip that I'm going to give you is to make productivity a logical decision. So when you have a task, make it a logical decision that you're going to get it done. And what I mean by this is that you try to detach the emotion from it. You don't put so much weight on it. You don't think, well, if I don't ace this test, then I'm gonna be a failure, and then put all this emotional weight on it so that you get so stressed out about it that you can't even start. That's what I did. I literally could not even start because I attached so much emotional weight. Whereas if you just make it a logical decision, like, I have to study right now, you just study. You just do it. And it's easier said than done, and so I'll get into like how to actually start and stuff, but what you need to know is that it is an emotional decision, and what's good about that is you have the power to change your emotions, and you have the power to remove your emotions from a situation if you really put your mind to it. So tip number 2, when you're trying to get started on a habit that you've been procrastinating, break it down. Break it down into multiple steps. Break it down into as many possible steps as you can and lay it all out before you. See, this is what works for me, but it might not work for everybody because not everybody everybody is like checklist oriented like I am. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, so I love a to-do list. If you're not like that, maybe this tip won't apply as much to you, but for me, I love breaking down one task, so study for my final, into like 15 tasks. So I break it down into page 1 through 3 of study guide, this Quizlet, this chapter, etc. For finals for semester, I had a study notebook, and for all my finals, I wrote down step by step 15 steps that would eventually lead me to having fully studied for the final, and I would just check things off when I got them done, and then I felt like I had actually studied. And a reason why some people procrastinate studying in particular is because they feel like it will never end. You feel like studying is such just a general thing, and it can be so hard to start when you don't really have any sort of direction or layout. So when you have blueprints for what you're going to do to complete the task of studying, it'll be a lot more manageable, and you'll be able to look step by step at what you're gonna do to complete the task. So for me, I would do, okay, I need to study chapter 1 through 7. So I would literally write a box for chapter 1, a box for chapter 2, a box for chapter 3, a box for chapter 4. You get what I'm saying? And then if I had to do certain pages of a study guide, if I had to do certain pages of the textbook, write every single page out so that you check them off. And so it's not just this ongoing task, it's one task at a time. And obviously, starting is the hardest part, but once you make that logical decision to start, and once you break it down, it gets a lot easier to be productive on a specific task. And then tip number 3 for getting a task done, like studying, completing an essay, doing your homework, etc., use the Pomodoro Method. So in case you don't know, the Pomodoro Method is a method where you, I think for like this official method, you work for 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break. And the reason why you do that is because when you're learning or completing something, your brain will often remember what you do at the beginning and what you do at the end. So this is particularly applicable for studying for a test. If you just sit down and study for 6 hours, you'll only really remember what you studied at the beginning and what you studied at the end. And I think that I learned this from a podcast by Jim Quick. He does a lot of like productivity tips and things that can help with your brain. I will link it in the description below if that's something that interests you. I love podcasts. They help me learn. That's what I learned from this podcast, is that you remember things from the beginning and the end. So a way to kind of cheat this system is work for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break. Give your brain that reset. Give your brain some time off from thinking, and then you'll remember pretty much everything you learned in that 25 minutes because it's a short enough amount of time. And you'll be surprised at how much you can get done in 25 minutes if you just get rid of distractions, you get rid of everything else, you just focus for 25 minutes. It's not that long, it's a really good amount of time, and then you get the reward of a 5-minute break to let your brain breathe. And this is also a really great way to avoid getting burnt out, because if you study for 6 hours, then you're gonna be exhausted. If you have the test the next day, your brain is just gonna be burnt out from all of that stress that you put on it, and you'll have that brain fog that will give you a negative association with being productive. For me, it was like, okay, well, I leave everything to the last minute. I do an essay, in the last 5 hours of it being due when I had 3 weeks, the whole semester to do it. And then I would get this terrible feeling of, that fog and exhaustion of staring at a computer and not giving myself any breaks and having to focus so hard for such a long period of time. And that gave me such a negative association with getting my tasks done. So what did I do? I procrastinated the next task and the next task and the next task. So if you use the Pomodoro Method, I use this app, Tomato Timer, on my iPhone, where I set the timer for however long I want to be productive. Sometimes I do 25 minutes and a 5-minute break. Sometimes I do 35 minutes. Sometimes I'll do 40 minutes, but you really don't want to go more than 50 minutes. And if you do 50 minutes, I would recommend taking a 10-minute break instead. And you will avoid that burnout and that negative feeling, and you will be less likely to associate a negative feeling with being productive. And you will be way more likely to remember what you're studying and actually be able to finish a task in a shorter amount of time because you are giving yourself active rest breaks for your brain. And then I want to talk about rewards. So I think a very common thing is like, if I get this done, then I get this reward. So if I get this done, then I can eat this, or I can do that, or I can be on TikTok or something like that. And while rewards are a great way to motivate yourself, they're very temporary. And I think a lot of us are looking more for long-term tips for productivity and motivation instead of just how to get motivated for one specific task. I always was like looking up, oh, how do I get motivated? And then I would be motivated for one task. But then I wanted to be a more productive person in general. Like I want to to be able to be productive and be motivated for my tasks in the future as well. So if you have a reward for one task, it's like, okay, great, I finished this task and now I have this reward. But what about the next time that you need to finish something or you need to start something and you don't have an extrinsic reward? That's why your intrinsic motivation is so important. And you don't have motivation. It's not something that you gain or earn or can buy or exchange for something. Motivation is something you do. My dog is barking. But like I was saying, motivation is something that you do. I don't know how to describe this. This is also a thing from Jim Quick. You do motivation, you put it in practice, you make it a habit. Motivation is not just like a juice in your body that flows through you. It is a habit that you create. And once you start being motivated or doing motivation, it's not something that I don't believe it's something you can be. Although we like to describe it that way, I think it's something that you do. It's something that you make a habit. I did not have the habit of being motivated before I started implementing these changes slowly one by one. And that's another point I want to make, is that don't try to suddenly implement all these habits all at once, because you'll just crash and burn. That's why a lot of people lose their New Year's resolutions, is because they try to change so much about themselves all at once and it becomes too overwhelming and it becomes impossible to implement everything. It's a lot easier if you start just one habit at a time. So if you just want to start with the habit of, I want to exercise more. Okay, then I'm going to start going to the gym 3 times a week, 4 times a week. This is literally how I did it. I started exercising more. And then I was like, okay, well, I want to start waking up earlier. And so I started slowly waking up earlier. Problem previously was that I would always be like, okay, I'm gonna have a fresh start tomorrow. I'm gonna wake up early, go to the gym, get this workout done, eat super healthy, get all my homework done. I'm gonna be this perfect person. I'm gonna have all this extra time and I'm gonna be great and perfect. And that was always my thought process. I always just thought, oh, well, tomorrow I'll start over and tomorrow I'll be perfect. And then it never worked and I always crashed and burned. And that's why, like, you know, people give up on their New Year's resolutions, is because they just try to do too much at once and then they fail. And then they don't trust themselves. I didn't trust myself. We don't trust ourselves when we keep crashing and burning like that. So that's the next thing. You have to trust yourself in order to be productive. You have to trust yourself that you will get the task done. And like in relationships with other people, in our relationship with ourselves, trust is built over time. So you have to, over time, start trusting yourself. Be like, well, I got this thing done, so why does that mean that I can't get this thing done? If you've gotten something done before, you can do another thing. If I've done this 30 minutes of exercise before, I trust myself to be able to do this 30 minutes of exercise now. Does that make sense? It's like, you have to be able to trust yourself that you can get something accomplished. If you don't have that trust in yourself, you're not going to be able to do it. I read a book, actually, first semester of college. I was in this class all about being a college student, and we were reading this book, and it was talking about students procrastinating. And it said that students who procrastinated and forgave themselves after they procrastinated on something were much more likely to not procrastinate their next task. But if students really beat themselves up over procrastinating and got super angry at themselves and didn't forgive themselves for that, then they were more likely to procrastinate on the next task. And it's because they didn't have that trust within themselves. And I was like that for all of high school. I procrastinated everything. I would beat myself up for it. I would be like, this is the last time this is ever happening. Like, I can't believe I did that. This is so bad. I'm gonna fail this. I failed that, blah, blah, blah. And then I had zero trust in myself, and I just automatically would assume that I was going to be a failure every single time that I had something on my to-do list and I had a task to check off. I was like, well, I'm not gonna get it done because I didn't do the last one. You have to change your mindset on that. You have to be able to think, no, I can't get this done because I've gotten this done before. I can do this. I trust myself. You have to earn that trust with yourself. It doesn't happen overnight. Like I said, it happens over time, but you'll be surprised at how fast you can make that. And then if you do procrastinate something, because we all do it, I still do it. I still go on TikTok when I have things to do, obviously. But if you do procrastinate something, forgive yourself. Recognize you're not a failure. You're a human. We all do it. And move on. You can finish the next task. It'll be fine. You can always, always, always get back up on your feet. You're never too far gone. The last thing I want to say about rewarding your brain, because I touched on this a little bit earlier, you want to reward your brain with downtime and rest and kind of detaching it from productivity and from stress. And if you reward it with something like junk food, then obviously, like I said, that's temporary, and also it won't even help you feel better or more relaxed. But if you just really relax your brain, give yourself that downtime, then your brain will love you for doing that, and then your brain will be much more ready to get fired up and help you complete your task. it is a logical decision you have to make. Take the emotion out of it, like I said before, or at least try your best. Don't just assume that you're going to fail or be rejected or whatever it is, and try to take the emotion out of it, make it a logical decision, and make that logical decision again and again. And then once it becomes a habit, it will be so much easier. For me, it was so hard starting out like on this productivity journey of becoming a much more productive person. I had to beat this very deep-rooted habit of procrastination, and it took work on myself, but eventually I started trusting myself and I became a productive person instead of just being productive once or twice but falling back into my habits. So habits are hard but worth it, and it will help you so much in the long run. I've kind of already touched on all these, but I'll just fire them off really quick. Get plenty of sleep. Very self-explanatory. You're not going to be at your full capacity if you're not getting enough sleep. Getting enough sleep is key. I did not pull one single all-nighter in college. Not one. You don't have to. Manage your time. I'll probably make another video about time management. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. But if you manage your time and you play your cards right, you don't have to pull all-nighters. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it, and it won't help you. If you have a test the next day, you're gonna do so much worse if you didn't sleep. Like I said before, start with one habit at a time, eliminate distractions. Love TikTok, we all love it. Used to be that I was just scrolling on Instagram, I was watching YouTube, I was on Snapchat, and now TikTok is a thing, and we all love TikTok, okay? Like, we're all addicted to it, like, I know. You have to put it away. I literally have a time limit set on TikTok, and I had my brother put in the password on my screen time so I could only be on TikTok for an hour and 30 minutes. Because, I mean, we all know how easy it is to just sit on TikTok and scroll for 3 hours. So I set myself a limit for every single day, 1.5 hours. And that's a lot, but that's the amount of time I have to waste on social media these days. So there's no shame in that. I did that for myself. It's hard, I know, it's annoying, but you have to eliminate those distractions. If you don't want to do that, just put your phone somewhere else. Just put it away. Just put it away. Put it in another room. And everybody says that, and it's easier said than done. If you can't do it, just put it on Do Not Disturb. Put your computer on Do Not Disturb. So many times I started texting on my computer or whatever, so I started putting it on Do Not Disturb. Game changer. I don't feel like I have to respond to everybody. And I'm gonna sound like a boomer when I say this, but honestly, our phones, we're just letting other people dictate how we use our time. I still do it, obviously, like, we're all guilty of it. We're letting other people dictate how we spend our time. And, like, we don't want to do that. But also we do, and there's nothing wrong with our phones, but when we're trying to be productive and get our work done, we gotta put them away because they're distracting. So eliminate your distractions. Work in the environment that you know is best for you. I don't know what's best for you. I know for me, it's best when I'm like alone or at a library, in my room, at a desk. I can't work on my bed. Don't work on your bed because you'll make an association with work and bed. You don't want that because then you won't be able to sleep. Give yourself grace. Forgive yourself for when you mess up. Be organized, whatever that means for you. Organization looks different for everybody. You don't have to be hyper organized, but at least know what you have to do, know when it's due, have that written down somewhere. Write it all down. I have things written in like 7 different places. I have to-do lists, I have a planner, and I have a Google Calendar, and I have a wall calendar, and I have my due dates on everything because if I don't, I will miss one. I'm an organized person, but it's because I force myself to be. It's not because I am naturally, at least I don't think. Listen to podcasts. This honestly helps me be so productive. So I know a lot of times when we have to do something like clean our room or vacuum or something like that, it can be really hard to just do that task, and a lot of the times it's because we are craving some sort of other stimulation. So a lot of people like put on a show while you clean your room or something like that. I used to always put on Friends and clean my room, but they took Friends off of Netflix. Something like that where we just like miss that stimulation that we usually get when we're on our phones or something, and we would rather be doing that. And I found that a very easy solution to this is listening to a podcast. So you just like plug it in. It's more mentally stimulating than music, and then podcasts can be really motivating and really educational. So I listened to a bunch of productivity podcasts at the beginning of this year when I kind of was starting this journey with being a more productive person. I started listening to podcasts. At first I wasn't into it, but you have to just give it a chance. You have to find the right ones for you, because once you do, it's amazing. You can like listen to people, you feel like you're having a conversation with them, or you feel like you're just learning, but it's like a stress-free environment because it's not like you have to take a test on it or apply it to your life. you just listen to it and then you can apply it if you want to. I think it's great. It's obviously not for everybody, but listening to podcasts personally helped me be a lot more productive. And then yeah, write everything down. Your brain will love you for checking things off a to-do list. And there's, I'm sure, a lot of science behind this that I don't know, but listen to Jim Quick's podcast. You want to learn more about how your brain works and how productivity works with your brain, because I've learned a lot about it. I think it's very, very interesting. Sometimes you have to rest before you get things done, but you will feel so much better and you will get so much more out of your rest if you do your stuff beforehand. So if you get your essay done, or you'll at least start, you will feel a lot better, and the rest will actually be more beneficial to you and your health. Because rest won't be beneficial to you if you are just thinking about all the things you have to do but you don't want to do them. Obviously, nobody ever wants to be productive, but eventually you will start trusting yourself and you will feel more inclined to get your things done so that you can rest and so that you can be less stressed and less anxious and just feel much more accomplished. For me, I really like feeling accomplished. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. I live for feeling accomplished, honestly, which that can obviously be to a fault. But I mean, everybody likes feeling like they've accomplished something. And if you feel like you've accomplished something while you're laying down watching Netflix, that feeling is so much more satisfying than if you were laying down watching Netflix while you still have a whole to-do list of things to do. Does that make sense? I feel like I explained that in way too long form of a way, but the last thing I want to say is about routines. I feel like routines is a big thing that's really popularized by social media right now. And they help, but that's a whole new ball game, and that's a whole thing that you have to implement in your lifestyle. And I don't necessarily think routines are necessary for being productive. So routines aren't your thing, you don't need to have one, but obviously general routines of times of your day when you get stuff done will really help you be okay, well, at this time of day I work out, and at this time of day I do work, and then at this time of day I rest. That will really help you, and you can feel more that structure will remind you and your brain and your body of when you're gonna work and when you're gonna rest, if that makes any sense. But I feel like that could be a whole nother video. Again, comment down below if that's something that you would be interested in. So like I said before, this video is more about how to become a more productive person, and not just how to be more productive for one task and how to get one thing done, because I think that we all just generally want to be a little bit more productive and a little bit more confident in our abilities to get things done. So I hope this helped. I hope this helped somebody. I hope this inspired or motivated somebody and helped somebody realize a way that would help them feel more productive. If it did, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments. I respond to every single comment, so I would be happy to chat with you. Follow me on Instagram, DM me on Instagram. I'd be happy to chat with you, give you my advice, or if you want to DM me about a video you would like, let me know. I would be so happy to give you that advice. That is all for this video. Let me know if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It means so much to me. All your likes and comments help me grow, so if you want to do that, it means everything to me. And that is all for today. I will see you next time. Bye.